We are here to serve, not to be served. That we should remember all the kindness extended to us and forgive the faults of others. Encourage us to join together in our efforts to better the lives of others. I now bless this meeting and the members of the Kiwanis family. Remember all the kindness extended to us and forgive the faults of others. I now bless this meeting and the members of the Kiwanis family. This and other mercy we ask in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
In my opening remarks, I first of all would like to recognize our guest speaker, and my guest, his mother, Blossom O'Mealy Nelson. Welcome. I'd like to also thank everyone for the tremendous support we received in our recent fundraiser, Barbie Fry, and also remind all of us to remain in touch with those members who are shut in. I now ask President-designate Paul Peart to proceed with the welcome and introduction of visiting clubs, guests, and SLPs. Over to you, President-designate.
Thank you very much, President Richard. Good evening once again to everyone joining us on this platform. Of course, I want to extend a special welcome to those that are here with us, and I'll be doing the roll call of clubs. May I start with those clubs that are visiting with us from outside of Jamaica? Are there any clubs? If not, we go to clubs that are in Jamaica. So let's start with Division 25. Division 24.
25 DP Paul, PD Paul. Sorry, I'm past Lieutenant Governor Juliet, and I'm visiting you from the Kiwanis Club of Westmoreland Capital. Happy to be here and look forward to a great evening.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Are you the only one in your delegation, or
I'm the only one? Some people will join. Some other members will join soon.
Okay, thank you very much for joining. Are there any other clubs from Division 24? If not, we move to Division 23 West.
Good evening, PD Paul, fellow Kiwanians. This is President Janet from the Kiwanis Club of the Sunshine City, bringing you greetings. I believe, well, I'm the only one on this platform. The others, at least two others, are on YouTube, but we are here to enjoy the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy to have you and your delegation. Are there any other clubs from Division 23 West? If not, we move. Yes.
PD.
Yes, go ahead.
This is DP Marianne from the Kiwanis Club of Geisel. It's my pleasure to be a part of your meeting this evening. At the moment, I'm alone, but I'm expecting my president-designate to join shortly. Thank you very much for inviting us to your meeting. Looking forward to a fabulous meeting.
Thank you very much and welcome again. Are there any other clubs of Division 23 West? If not, we move to 23 East.
Good evening. Good evening, Chris.
Yes, good evening.
This is DP Jennifer from the Kiwanis Club of Greater Portmore. I am not seeing anyone else on this platform at the moment, but I'm here to enjoy your meeting.
Thank you very much for joining and welcome. I hope your others will join soon as well to share their enjoyment. If not, we move to, are there any other clubs? Division 23 East.
Good evening, Paul.
Yes, good evening,
President Richards. It is good to be on. I know there are other meetings and others will join, but with you this evening is DP Dr. Adela Campbell. I'm DLG Gerslin. Hi, Blossom Amelie. Good to see you. Have a great meeting. Take care of yourselves and stay safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining.
You're welcome.
Yes.
The LG used to try and perform on the Powerful Woman.
Yes, Powerful Woman. Yes, I do recall those days.
You don't know anything about.
She used to model. That's what she did, modeling.
Yes, yes. Okay, let us continue with our roll call of clubs. May I move on to Division 23?
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hi, this is President Nikita from the Kiwanis Club of Worthington, Kingston, Division 23 East. I'm currently online with Secretary Lashon, and we are expecting others to join later. Thank you so much for the invite, DLG Willie, and looking forward to an interesting meeting.
Thank you very much, President Nikita. And are there any other clubs within Division 23 East? If not, I move to Division 23 C. Okay. Or SLPs. Could you identify your club and your delegation?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is President Joshua Brown from the American University College Circle K International Club. And here with me today is this District Secretary Dana Denton. We have our club secretary Samantha Cornwall. We have our member Donna K. Thompson, and we have two prospects with us, Mrs. Bernard and Mrs. Gale, and we have about 4 other members joining us and 2 more prospects. We're looking forward to a wonderful meeting.
Thank you very much, President Joshua and the delegation for joining.
Good evening.
Glad to have you. Yes, good evening.
Good evening, PD Paul. This is President Orania from the Dunoon Park Technical High School Key Club, and we are 6 in number. We are happy to be here and looking forward to a fabulous meeting.
Wonderful. Thanks for joining. Are there any other SLPs? If not, are there any visitors of Kiwanians? No? Any prospects? Okay then. Well, thank you very much for joining, and of course, I hope that you will all enjoy this meeting and the presentation by our guest speaker. President Richard, over to you, sir.
Thank you, President-designate Paul. At this time, we have only one apology from Director Garfield Wint. I have no other apologies.
We also have an apology from Chairman Noreen Gordon.
Okay, thank you. I'll now invite Vice President-designate Newton Ramdal to bring us recognition of birthdays and anniversaries.
Thank you, President Richard. Good evening, everybody. This week we have a few birthdays and anniversaries that we already know of. So, for example, Kiwanian Errol Anderson will be celebrating his birthday tomorrow, June 2. So please remember, give him a call if you can. Also, Alison, who is the wife of Kiwanian George Beckford, she will be celebrating her birthday on June 4. One special anniversary that's coming up is DLG Warwick Bogle and Patricia. They celebrate their anniversary on June 5. And I am going to ask DP Stuart Spencer to remind DP Earl Spencer that his wife's birthday is on June 5. Okay, that said, I'm inviting anyone who is having a special occasion this week, last week, anytime soon, to just open your mic, and with the permission of President Richard, let us know that we can celebrate with you.
This is past Chairman Carrington Grant. I'm celebrating, or we are celebrating, our 65th wedding anniversary on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, okay. Great to hear, Past Chairman Carrington. Please wish her all the best for me.
Yes. Did he say 6'5" or 5'5"?
6'5".
6'5".
6'5".
Right.
All the years I've been on Earth. Okay.
and he said it loud and clear and proud.
That's because I realized that it is forgotten.
Okay, sir.
Dance floor, we were still surprised.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, well, with that said, it's back to you, President Richard.
Thank you, VP Designate Newton. DLG William Reason will now bring us Kiwanis education.
Fellow Kiwanians, this evening I'm going to speak to you on the practice of raising a toast at the termination of our meeting. It is interesting, however, that so deeply committed are Jamaicans Kiwanians that they innovated the reciting of the objects at all Kiwanis Club meetings of a third agenda item following the singing of the national anthem and invocation. This practice of reciting the objects is now emulated at all Eastern Canada and the Caribbean district conventions and by many clubs throughout Canada and the Caribbean. In the same vein, the practice of raising a toast to Kiwanis International and a friendly Jamaica at the termination of our meetings had its genesis in the 1970-71 administrative year under Lieutenant Governor Gordon Mazuka, when the Friendly Jamaican campaign was initiated. Supported by the Jamaican Tourist Board, the campaign had the objective of exposing visitors to the warmth, friendliness, and hospitality of Jamaicans. It was so intended to increase conviviality, cordiality, and improve the personal relations among Jamaicans. This campaign was promoted by all Jamaican clubs. Over the years, the Kiwanis Club of Kingston has adopted as its practice of raising a toast to Kiwanis International, Friends of Jamaica, and Land We Love. Thank you, President.
Thank you very much. We are now at our feature presentation for the evening, and I invite Stuart Spencer to introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you, President Richard. Fellow Kiwanians and guests, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Christian, well, let me say it from the beginning, Nelson Christian Stokes. And he is the founder, and I should add OD. Let me not forget that. He's the founder and executive chairman of NCS. I'm hearing a rustling sound in the background. Please, everybody please keep your mics closed. And I'd appreciate that. There's still are some mics open.
I will look for that in the meantime.
You can close all mics and have DP Stuart reopen.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, okay, coming.
Okay, I'll just start again. Yes, good afternoon, fella.
Unmute, DP Stuart.
Oh, yeah, you unmuted me. Sorry. Okay. Yes, good afternoon again. This evening we have Nelson Christian Stokes, founder and executive chairman of NCS Enterprises, a group of companies focusing on financial services, thought leadership, and sports administration. The group, which consists of 2 remittance companies, a loan company, and an operating company, is the leading money services business provider in the Turks and Caicos Islands. Mr. Stokes is an adjunct consultant with the University of the West Indies, Mona School of Business Professional Services Unit, and does team building, change management, and leadership training for corporations worldwide. He has delivered high impact keynote speeches to a wide variety of audiences worldwide. And he's also a columnist for Viewpoint, Jamaica.com, a blog for The Gleaner, and a guest commentator on That's a Wrap. Chris was awarded Order of Distinction, Officer Class, Jamaica's 6th highest national honor by the government of Jamaica for his contribution to the development of sport. He's also the first vice president for the Jamaica Olympic Association and Olympians Association of Jamaica director and a member of the Pan Am Sports Marketing Commission. He's a 4-time Olympian as a member of the Jamaican bobsleigh team and has played a key role as both athlete and administrator in establishing Jamaica bobsleigh as a leading, though unlikely competitor in the sport, with multiple Olympic qualifications and medal placements at international competitions. He's currently chairman of the Jamaica Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation, and his book, Cool Runnings and Beyond, the story of the Jamaican bobsleigh team, is the definitive history of this renowned Jamaican brand. His company, Akon Sports Management, supports athletes in their educational and asset management plans to facilitate successful post-competition life. He's also co-founder and chairman of Akon Track Club. Immediately before starting his own group of companies, Chris held senior executive management positions with National Commercial Bank and the Victoria Mutual Building Society. He holds a Master's of Business Administration degree in finance from Washington State University, a Bachelor of Science degree in finance from the University of Idaho, and a postgraduate diploma in banking from the Stonia Graduate School of Banking. And he also has a certification in advanced Spanish. He probably will tell you a little bit more about that later. He's currently a doctoral student at the Sir Arthur Lewis Institute of Social and Economic Studies at the University of the West Indies, where his thesis, Does Leadership Matter? How can CEO leadership style impact financial stability? A multiple case study of Jamaican financial institutions, has been recognized by the university, bank executives, and regulators as groundbreaking research of regional importance. And although he did not put this in his profile, you might want to know that he's a product of 3 high schools: Calabar High, Cornwall College, and Monroe, in that order. And with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Chris Stokes.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Thank you. I'm going to ask you in a little while to allow me to be able to share my screen. Good to see you, brother. It's been a long time. Yes, I was glad to get your call. So many Major Reese, my respects to you, Mr. Reeson. I haven't seen you in 100 years. I saw Gertlin on there somewhere. I mean, I heard of George Beckford. I don't know if it's my old-time friend, George Beckford. It's so good to see everyone here. Thanks for the invitation. I'm going to take the opportunity to, let me start by saying my mother is on the call, which gives me pause. The last time I gave a speech somewhere and she was in the audience, I think I was lectured about what I said for some months afterwards. I am not my mother. I am not as glamorous as she is. I tend to speak far more slowly and far more considered. And I'll try to have some meaning in there somewhere. But I'm glad she's on because she can help me with 1 or 2 facts. And I didn't know she was going to be on, and I actually have an experience that is very personal to me in my life that I was going to share with you guys before sharing it with her. And now she'll be on to critique it. If she butts in, I won't take offense and you shouldn't, Mr. Chairman. That's Dr. Amelia Nelson. Do I have the capacity to share my screen now? No?
Yes, you should. You should. Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Are you able to see that now?
Yes, we can see
good.
that.
All right, good. Let me start a little bit. Just to pick up a little bit on what Stuart said. I did go to 3 high schools. My father moved around a lot. But what are the things that are important to me? That I grew up in the country. It's very important that I grew up in St. Mary as a youngster. That I feel has helped mold me. There is something about growing up barefoot in short pants that allows you to withstand people threatening you when you are 50 years older. You know, if you come from a background like that, there are very few things that you're afraid of. And so I thank God for that, and not having grown up in the lap of luxury, but a very practical life along the seaside and in the mountains of coastal St. Mary, Galena, Port Maria, that part of the world, and I thank God for that experience. I'm known. Now I'm known as my daughter's father. Parents understand that. You know, you get to a point where it is Natalia's father. You're not anybody. That's just how it works. But I'm known for my sports exploits. I ran for both Calabar, Cornwall, and Monroe, and I'm one of the few persons who actually won a medal for each of the 3 schools that I attended, including winning the 100 meters at champs for Monroe. Played the Costa Cup, went away on scholarship, Major Reese. My father was like, I don't know, this is looking ticklish. Maybe you should join the army. And thank God I could run, because I would not have done very well. My brother, of course, did very well as a soldier. And many of my friends, as you can imagine, are JDF folks until this day. I want to share with you a little bit on a personal level. It's late. It's the Kiwanis. I have a tremendous respect for the club system that is the Kiwanis, for the work that you do. One of the things that my wife had put on my invitation card for my my celebration sermon after receiving the OD. It's in Latin. I don't know what it says. Maybe Mom will remember. But the interpretation is in English. Is not for ourselves were we born. And I think it's very, very important. And I think that underlies a lot of what Kiwanis stands for. And I salute you. I salute the group. Kingston. You know you're old when you just have Kingston, and not Kingston West or North, or just Kingston. And Central, that's in the heart, and I know it's a very old institution, and it's really an honor to be here. I want to talk a little bit about some very personal experiences that has given me the tool set to do all that I have been able to do in life. And I've been blessed. I have a fantastic family, extended family, career, an entrepreneur that has done well in the financial services space as a non-traditional financial service business owner. So I've been blessed. But there are things that I've learned that I want to share with you and that I hope can help to improve your life. And forgive me, one second for me. Okay. Forgive me if it seems a little rudimentary, but it is important to start off from ground zero. Okay? I'm going to start with this picture. We learn best what we learned first. And I'm going to tell a story about this picture. The gentleman on the left, that tall, handsome gentleman, is my father, Reverend Dr. Dudley Stokes. You'll notice that he's very black. Country guy, went to Knox, learned to read and write very late in life, very ambitious, very driven, a man among men, carried himself at 6'5", even though he was only 6'1", I believe, and very ambitious. So ambitious that he married my mother on the right, who you'll notice is a very sophisticated brown Jamaican. Now, we're talking about in the 1960s now. I want to say they're married 61. I'm sure I stand to be corrected. And So you have a sophisticated lady from a middle-class family whose parents worked for the government, and my grandfather was a leading government employee, marrying this black man from country, right? The lady that you see standing to the left of my mother is my grandmother, who is my mother's mother, who took to the bed when my mother married my father. All right?
You just smiled this, sir.
And she gave up, my mother gave up an opportunity to study at a university in Canada to be with my father. And what is worse, my father took her from Jamaica, away from her family, from her mother and father, away, I might add, from her doting father, that's my grandfather to the far right, who is to this day the most polished gentleman I've ever come across. In public, in private, it was another story. It was quite a dapper, polished gentleman. And he was a doting father. And my mother took up with this man who was a pastor, obviously lacking ambition, from the country, who decided to go to the Turks and Caicos Islands to become a missionary. So this was a part of great contention. And this is before I was even conceived or thought of, all right? It was important background, all right? So my father went to the Turks and Caicos Islands. Now in those days, the Turks and Caicos Islands wasn't anywhere. It's still not very much somewhere, but it was a dependence of Jamaica, all right? As was at one point Cayman, by the way, all right? Turks and Caicos, shortly after my parents moved there, stayed with the British when Jamaica sought independence, all right? After the failure of the West Indians, alliance, federation, after the movement, the West Indian Federation. And he was there, and he was a missionary there. And he served as a missionary. And to this day, I'm speaking to you from Turks and Caicos right now, and I'll connect the dots in a little bit. He did a very good job here. There are places that if I go in a taxi in Turks and Caicos, I cannot pay for it because my father was Dudley Stokes and he baptized the taxi driver's parents or the taxi driver, or he brought down some blessing on the home. All right? This is all now around the idea of learning best what we learned first. Okay? My dad was off, going on a boat between islands. Turks and Caicos is the archipelago. You can correct me on that one. And so he would go on these little dingy boats and go from island to island. You don't know if he's coming back. You don't know if he's coming back because many, when they go on the boat, don't come back. So my mother, whose nerves wasn't good to begin with, her nerves was even more frazzled. She had her firstborn, my brother, Dudley Clifford Talmadge Stokes, a great Jamaican himself. And then she got pregnant with me, Nelson Christian Stokes. But by that time, the pressure of living in the Turks was so great that she just was not doing well, and she was not feeling well and was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Which is a bad thing, right? It's a bad thing that she's going to have a nervous breakdown. But she decided, in order to help herself and to help herself recover, she decided to go back to Jamaica to spend some time with her family. All right, and here's a map. This is Jamaica here, and this is Turks. You go between Cuba and Hispaniola to get to the Turks and Caicos Islands, which is to the southeast, the southeast of the Bahamian Islands, right? So you're away from home. You're very much away from home. So that's so she came back to Jamaica, pregnant with me, and I was born. I was born a very fat baby. I was at 10 pounds or something like that, you know? And that's a picture of me. It's a little embarrassing. Now, Turks and Caicos had no hospitals to speak of, no medical care. She wasn't feeling well. She comes to Jamaica, right? I am born in Jamaica. I am born with a condition where I'm not able to keep my food in my stomach when I eat. So I will breastfeed and then vomit everything up instantaneously, and nobody knew what it was. And I lost a lot of weight, and it looked like I was going to die. And I understand that my grandfather made arrangements to bury me, but I was so small that he said, we can bury this guy in a shoebox. And he was at peace with the fact that this baby is going to die. All right? Some interesting things happened around that time. And somebody still has a mic unmuted for us. Some interesting things happened around that time. 6 months before that, the pediatric surgery ward at the university I don't think it was the Children's Hospital, the University of the West Indies was open just 6 months before. All right, that's the first thing. The second thing is a doctor came from India, I believe, and he had a particular specialization in treating illnesses of infants. And he was a very promising doctor who was doing very well in India and decided to come to Jamaica. The government made a very difficult decision to construct this pediatric ward in a time when resources were scarce and the country was trying to find its footing. My mother is in Turks, sick, comes to Jamaica, has me. I am born and I'm about to die because I cannot keep my food down. I cannot retain food. She takes me to the hospital, and a nurse walking past in her clean white clothes and everything sees me. I breastfeed and I vomit. What they call hurl. I hurl across the room. So, I actually hurl out the food. And she says, okay, this is what he has is, what's the name of the surgery, Mom? My pyloric sphincter is blocked.
Pyloric stenosis.
My pyloric stenosis. My pyloric stenosis.
That's projectile vomiting.
Projectile vomiting. My pyloric sphincter is blocked. I'm going to die because nobody knows how to treat with it, how to deal with it. Yet, this doctor who disappointed his family and came to Jamaica to serve was one of the few doctors in the world who knew how to treat this. And the university and the hospital with the facilities was one of the few facilities in the region with the facilities to treat the illness that I had. My mother did not come to Jamaica because she knew I was going to be sick. She came because she was sick. And I had the surgery, I had a very successful surgery, and here I am today. What do I take from this? A couple of things. What do I take from my father? I take from my father that it's important to follow your dreams, because he, against all odds, decided to go to Turks and Caicos. I take from my mother that it's important not to curse a misfortune, and I'll talk about that, because she would be like, oh my God, I am sick, I have to go to Jamaica, it's a terrible thing. Not knowing that coming to Jamaica, with no idea that coming to Jamaica was how she was going to save her son's life. No idea. The doctor who disappointed his family in India, who came to Jamaica, did not understand that the reason why he gave up a promising career in India to come to Jamaica was to save my life and the life of persons like me. He had no way of knowing that. And this, folks, is the magic and the beauty of life. My grandfather was ready to bury me. And there's something to learn from that as well. So at a very early stage, I had all the experiences that I was able to process throughout life that caused me to understand all I need to know to be successful in life. And let me share some of that with you. And I'm putting aside all my PhD and my MBA and my bachelor's and all the courses that I've gone to. And I'm going to talk to you about things that I hope will help you in your life. I'm going to talk about my father, my mother, and my grandfather. Follow your calling wherever it may take you. My father went to the Turks and Caicos Islands, a backward place. A backward place. And I recall, like he said, when he came, people, they used to tease him about what, when somewhere in the Bible, when they said, where is this man from? He's from Galilee. And the saying is, can anything good come from Galilee? And the question is, can anything good come from Turks and Caicos Islands? And let me tell you why that is important. My father had the courage to come to the Turks and Caicos Islands for whatever reason that he doesn't know, and we have to trust in things that we don't know and we understand and act in faith. He did not know when he came to Turks and Caicos Islands, and my brother was born there, and that he adopted a young man who 50 years later would rise to become the chairman of the Financial Services Commission in Turks and Caicos Islands, and that adopted son would call his adopted brother in Jamaica and say, I have an opportunity for you here, while that brother in me is working at NCB, to come to Turks and Caicos to start what is now the largest and most progressive financial money services business, an alternative bank and mobile wallet provider in the Turks and Caicos Islands. He had no idea. But friends, you have to step out in faith and plant your seeds. Don't worry when it is going to grow, if it is going to grow, and what kind of seeds, what kind of fruit it will produce. Don't concern yourself about that. Leave that to God. Trust me. As we say in Spanish, créeme. Trust me in this. Plant your seed and take care of your seed. Do your best that you can with your seed and leave the rest to God, because you don't know. If you think you know you're going to do A and then A is going to lead to B and B is going to lead to C, you have no idea. You don't know. So you have to just do what you can and trust your action and do the best you can with what you have, where you are in faith, and allow the rest to unfold. I'll share two more examples of that. I used to run at the University of Idaho. I got injured, right? I used to run at Monroe. I got injured, got a scholarship to William and Mary and to University of Maryland. I got injured, lost that scholarship. I ended up at University of Idaho, which in my judgment, Mama, you may agree, was a blessing. It seemed like a horrible thing at the time, but I followed my dreams and I followed my mission. And I want to encourage everybody here, don't wait to find the end of the story. Sing with abandon in the shower. Plant your seed in your garden and water it. And don't worry how many people are coming to see and who recognize it. Do your work in your corner and play your part in the universe. What did I learn from my mother? Be careful how you curse your misfortune. She could have said, Lord of mercy, why am I sick? You're sick because you need to give your son a chance to live. You don't know that. You have to leave it in God's hand. Whatever you conceive that to be, faith, whatever the universe, whatever you want to name and call that. All right? When things happen to you, they are what they are. It's a very stoic thing. The story is told of many stories. And let me just give you my personal experience. I got injured and didn't make the Summer Olympic team, right? In track and field. But that allowed me to pursue a career in bobsleigh. If I had stayed in track and field, I'd have just been an unknown one guy who ran a leg on the 4x1 in the 1988 Olympics. Instead, I'm original member of the Jamaica bobsleigh team, which means something to the world. The Jamaica bobsleigh team is inspiring unheralded people in all corners of the earth in 2021. And that is the price that I had to pay by giving up what I thought was best for me to form part of a greater plan to deliver good to mankind. You can't curse your misfortune because you don't know where it is going. You don't know what is going to come of it. And I want to leave that with your friends. When things happen, just recognize this is what has happened. You don't know how it's going to end, right? You don't know what the next step is. You have to just keep going forward in faith. There's a story of a great, one of the great musical pieces by a guy named Keith Jarrett. You should listen to it. You can Google it. Keith Jarrett is a jazz musician. He has sold the most sold jazz improvisation album in history. You know how he made that album? He was on tour in Europe. A young German girl called him and said, I want you to do a concert in Bonn. He said, I'm sick, I don't feel well, I can't do it. He says to her, do you have a Steinway piano? She says, yes, right? And she keeps calling him, 16 years old, she keeps calling him. He says, you know what, you are, if only for your tenacity, I'm going to come and play in this concert. He drives all the way, his back is hurting. He arrives 5 minutes before the concert is going to start. Long lines outside, people filing in. He goes in and says, where is the piano? And she brings out a Steinway, but he's a concert pianist. It's an old Steinway with about, and listen to this, about 20 to 30% of the keys not working. There's not a person on this call who at that time would not get up and walk out of the concert hall and give the quite valid excuse that I cannot play with a damaged piano. Not one of us on this call would not feel justified in saying that. You know what Keith Jarrett did? Sat down at the piano and started touching the keys. And he understood what was working and what wasn't working, and what was working halfway well and what wasn't working halfway well. And in that moment, he, as the artist and the instrument, not the perfect instrument, and follow me on this, not the perfect instrument, but the instrument that he had, not the perfect tool, but the tool that he had, not the perfect circumstance, but the circumstance that he was in. With all that, he sat and he started to feel his way around the keyboard slowly. And he grew in confidence. And his manager said, I'm going to record this. If you insist on playing, I'm going to record it so that people understand that the instrument you were playing on wasn't good. And he said, I am the creator here. And he went on to play for about 45 minutes straight on the damaged piano. That recorded piece of music is recognized in 2021 as the most outstanding piece of piano improvisational work in the history of jazz piano. We need to learn something from this, friends. Because we all want to say, I don't have this and I don't have this, therefore I'm going to fail. As if explaining difficulty is an excuse. It is not. We have to find a way to find a way. We need to learn from Keith Patrick. We need to learn from Jamaica bobsleigh when we went into races with equipment that was respectfully subpar. It's okay. It's okay. I get worried now when I see Jamaica, building all these tracks and so on. Remember that Usain Bolt trained up at UA on a dirt track, often barefoot. Don't get in the habit of empowering your circumstances over your creativity. Don't curse your misfortune because you don't know what is going to be. Have the courage to face what is in front of you and make the most of it. And I want to encourage each of you to think about that. When we crashed at the Olympics, we crashed on the final run in the 4-man. Very embarrassing, by the way, to crash in front of a couple billion people. All right? But again, on the theme of not cursing your misfortune, this is what I write in my book. So close to doing what could not be done, the team did what the cynics expected. Crashed at the big show. The FIBT, which is the international body, was vindicated. They said that Jamaica was not prepared for the Olympics and the team proved them right. The media cast the team as jokers and Sunday sledders. It was fun while it lasted. The time had come for our sideshow to make room for the real sledders. But I go on to write, and this is the crux, friends. The fact that we crashed was massive failure. We fell short of our goal. Yet the hard fact of the situation is that if we had not crashed, then we would not have risen with determination. We would not have kept on going. We would not have become a very competitive team. There would have been no Cool Runnings movie. And in all likelihood, there would not have been a Jamaica bobsleigh team today. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, be careful how you curse your misfortune. Embrace your circumstances. Find a way to take the next step and to go to the next level. And this, again, is not theory. It is something that I have lived that I want to share with you. Last thing I want to say, mention, or talk about is what I learned from my grandfather. No dream is dead until it is dead. He was ready to bury me. A lot of times in life, we have to learn, there's a poem called If. It's a very important poem. It talks about going on when all is inside you, all you feel inside you is a voice that says carry on. And I know, especially in this time of COVID and in person's lives, people feel lost. You want to give up. And I want to encourage you, and this is something that is very personal to me. Find the courage just to take the next step, just to wake up the next morning, just to try again. It's very important. Don't bury that dream. You are put on this earth, each and every one of you on this call were put on this earth for a particular reason. Think about this. Not before nor after will there be anybody like you. There are not many things you can say that about. So you have a unique contribution to make to the universe. And I want to encourage you to make that contribution. You cannot make it if you blame your misfortune or if you give up too early. We're in very difficult times, strange times in the world. Times when people, depression is rampant, people are discouraged, people want to give up, they don't know how to go on. And I want to say to you, I don't know what your circumstances is. I carry my cross as the best I can with dignity. Everybody on this call carries their cross. But I want to say to you, as we take this journey in life together, I want to encourage you, just take the next step. Take the next step. Sometimes the roads goes up, sometimes it goes down. Just keep going forward is what I want to encourage you and what I want to leave with you. So to crystallize, follow your calling. It may seem like you're going into Galilee and nothing good can come from Galilee, but you don't know. Be true to yourself and follow your calling. Make your own way. Don't try to always do what the next guy has already done. Have the courage to believe in yourself, believe in your uniqueness and create your own path. That is why you're here. You're not here to be like the next guy. You're here to be you. It's like Dizzy Gillespie and Miles Davis. I tell this to my mom all the time. Miles Davis used to follow Dizzy Gillespie, play like him, practice like him, until one day he said, the best I can ever be is the second best Dizzy Gillespie. And then you know what he did? He said, I found my own voice. He found his own sound. So I want to encourage you to find and make your own sound. Don't try to follow what other people are doing. You're unique, be and do you. From my mother, bad things happen in life. Bad things happen. But don't make a judgment on it. Do the best that you can with it, because I believe you me, with tenacity, stick to yourself, and a little faith, what seems like a bad thing will turn out to be miraculous and serve the world. And I've shared that with you. And the last thing I want to leave with you in summary is what I learned from my grandfather. It's not over till it's over, till the fat lady sings. When you're down and out, and even when you're knocked out, throw water in your face and come back for the next round. All right? So friends, I hope this has been helpful. It has not been very academic as my speeches normally are. It has been from the heart, because it is a time when people are facing difficulties, and I hope that I've been able to encourage and inspire so called today, but to follow their purpose in life and to make a contribution and to change the world for the good, because our institutions are failing us. We need to look to ourselves and our families and our neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. I was thinking that when I was listening to you, that some people might think that what you had to say was for the younger folks in terms of those who have a lot of their life still ahead of them. But I found myself thinking about it also in relation to myself. And I'm sure that others have found that also in your very inspirational talk. You know, I like what you have said about be careful how you curse your misfortunes. And a lot of us have a lot of practice in that, you know. And I like the point about don't empower your circumstances over your creativity. So there was a lot in this, and I really want to thank you. It has been a blessed presentation. I want at this stage open the floor. I don't know if any, you know, I suspect there may be some persons who may have some questions that they'd like to put to you. And even if it relates to what you didn't necessarily speak on, but at least what you have knowledge of, that is also welcome. So the floor is open. You can either put your hand up in the chat, or if nobody is on the floor, you can also just go ahead and open your mic.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, Chris, listening to you has been very, very interesting. To my knowledge, you are from a family of very competitive and successful siblings. Would you say that is part of your inspiration? Were you very competitive with your brothers? Can you say something about that?
Yeah. I had a very interesting childhood. I cannot recall either of my parents ever sitting me down and teaching me this value or that work ethic. But you saw it every day. You saw how hard your mother worked. You saw how hard your father worked. And that is far more impactful than teaching somebody or trying to say the words to somebody. And then you emulate that. So a lot of what is in, my mother teases me all the time that she just sees herself in. A lot of my disposition to life and my ethic, and my work ethic and my tenacity and my ambition comes from what I've seen my parents do. You understand that I'm coming from my mother sewing my pants that I wear to school, right? And I understand that I'm coming from my father preaching in half a dozen churches so that he can make money to buy a car, and that's very powerful. On the competitive front, interestingly, I think in the case of my brother particularly, he was actually extremely proud and nurturing of me. He was not competitive. I never, he didn't try to, compete against me, better or worse. He was my biggest cheerleader in track or in football. I was always very proud of what he did. Sister is a little younger, 5 years younger, but that wasn't very competitive. What we understood well then and understand well now is that what we have is each other, and family is very important. And we have made the most of that. Interestingly, we're very competitive on the outside, but within the family, it's actually been quite nurturing as an environment to grow up in.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else wants to ask a question?
I want to make a comment.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Your situation with your father being thought backward to take up the priesthood because at that time, or rather be a missionary, and your mother's situation, your illness, and the appearance of that Indian doctor who was rejected. It just reminds me of my mother's faith. she never, if she heard you say you're lucky, she said that's not luck. And I have been practicing that not as consistently over these many years, except to say that 99% of the times that I, as a surveyor, go to the country, it never rains. So when it does rain, you say, well, you cannot have 100%. But I tell my staff, it's God do it. And I credit God for a whole lot of things. It's not luck. And you just sort of emphasize some of it because I try my best not to use luck. And as I use it, I apologize. I say it's not, that's not the word I meant. You may understand what I mean, but it's not luck. And I give it credit to the Almighty. Because that's how I say you must go with your mind. You need to do this now.
Yeah.
And then you just go. So I'm glad that, well, I mean, nothing anybody does, they are alone. But I'm glad to hear it coming from your level.
No, thank you.
Thank you. It was very, a very good talk.
Thank you. Stuart, may I make a comment, please? With your,
sure, go ahead.
With your leave. It worries me when you say that people are old and they're waiting to death tomorrow. Look, Cervantes, who wrote Don Quixote, started writing. Don Quixote, by the way, is the greatest piece of literature in Spanish, in the Spanish world. All right. Started writing when he retired. All right. And I can give you a list of persons whose best work and best life came after they retired. And the truth of the matter is that it is a time, you know, people seem to be reluctant, or I think you're past this or past that. I don't understand what that means, because I see so much wisdom and knowledge and patience that can be gained from persons with more experience, and so much more yet to be contributed to the world. No, not everybody is going to be a blossom of millionaires. I mean, she came, she spent some time with me here, and you know, and in Turks, although I'm in Jamaica most of the time, but I dragged her over here for a particular reason. But when she stayed with me, I'm tired, I forgot to bed early. I can't keep up with her. So not everybody's going to be like that, all right? But what I want, don't start saying to yourself that I'm old and I don't have anything to do or any contribution to make. Have you seen the painting that former President George, with the painting book he came out with? He started painting when he left the presidency. The work that you are doing now, because you have time and you have empathy, is so valuable. So I'm not chastising you for saying it, Stuart, but I hope people aren't thinking, Lord, I'm old. Because there's still so much that you can do to impact the world. All right?
Let me just add, the point I was trying to make was that there are persons who might be thinking that, you know, this is for the young.
Yeah, so please support it. Yes, so you're supporting
but then I'm saying, you know, there was a lot in it for the older persons. That's really what I was getting at.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Yes,
yeah,
Doctor.
My hand is up. My hand is up.
Dr. Tom.
Okay.
Campbell, yeah.
No, sorry, Stuart, there's a lady there you may want to.
Yes, yes. Who, the person with the hand up can go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I just want to say to Chris that it was truly inspirational. Your presentation was truly inspirational. And I rather like the way you used your lived experience to give life to your presentation. And I'm careful not to curse my misfortune.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who's next? Somebody else had wanted to say something.
I think Director Warren had his hand up, or he asked a question about.
Go
ahead, Warren.
In the chat.
Okay. What he has here. What is your view on the Japan hosting of the 2020 Olympics this summer? What will with the recent surge in COVID?
Yeah, thanks for that. So, you know, last year, March or so, I was on a news program, and they asked me, okay, you know, with the COVID outbreak, will there be Olympics? And I said, absolutely, there will be the Olympic Games. That's summer 2021, right? absolutely there be a, one second, okay? Yeah, absolutely. And I thought about it and I said, if there is no Olympics, that is because we have much bigger problems. The world has much bigger problems. And there was no Olympics because the world had much bigger problems. No, allow me, sorry. And I talk long, I'm not like so just give me a chance to frame that. There is an argument that throughout the pandemic that seeks to balance economics with health and livelihood. And how many lives is worth $1? You know, how much GDP is in exchange for how many lives? What is that trade-off? And I'm an economist. It's a fair question. Some will say not one life is worth anything. It's okay. We're not going to lose one soul if the economy crashes 50%. And are we trading the possibility of contracting the virus and dying against the certainty of dying from starvation because we can't eat? So, what is the trade-off in Japan now? It's the health of the population versus the economics of the Olympic movement, and make no mistake, it is an economic juggernaut versus the dreams of athletes. And that is the mix. Now, what are we looking at? We're looking at Japan with the pandemic worse than it was when we canceled we canceled the Olympics in the first place, with variants that potentially could be far more dangerous. From a public health perspective, holding all else constant, the smart thing to do is to not have the games, right? But then you have to measure that now against what is the value of the dreams of athletes and the value of the Olympic movement, all right? And that is the balance that we are trying to find. My own judgment is that if it is that the games cannot be held, staged in a safe way, and we have seen this, by the way, we saw this at Champs. Not to say that nobody's going to contract the virus, but there's a way to hold an event. We saw this with the bubble in the NBA. I am now watching NBA games with the stadium full. I don't know if anybody's seen that. And not a mask inside, right? Phil Nicholson won the US Open, not the US Open, one under the PGA tournaments, and I'm looking at the course, thousands of people, not a mask inside, because they are vaccinated. So the government of Japan has to make a judgment as to whether or not the games can be staged in such a way, not that there is not one case, but that the risk is contained versus many more people dying in Japan. And let's be frank here. There are people who can't get beds, is my understanding, and there's oxygen shortage. At the end of the day, if it is that you cannot find a way to stage that with reasonable certainty, reasonable men have to make the decision that the games cannot go forward. My hope as a sports administrator and an athlete and somebody who understands the importance of the Olympic movement, the importance of athletes' dreams, is that we apply ourselves sufficiently to find our way to be able to stage the games successfully. So that is my long and very political answer to that question.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, we have time for about another two or so. Who wants to be next? All right, let me ask you this though. Could you give us a little bit? Okay, Earl, go ahead.
Just an observation which gives credence, if I may be so bold to say, to what Chris just said. Because this morning, I'm sure I read in the paper, where in France, they staged a concert, but it's the health people and the government, I think it was the government, who put it on. And they made sure that the age group was 18 to 45. And you had to take 2 COVID tests before and 1 after. Now, how they managed to do that, I would have loved to read much more, but that's all I think I saw. And that is to show, what do you call it? Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes.
So I'm just pointing that out. You could elaborate on it for me. Thanks.
Well,
yeah. What I find a lot of in the world, and let me leave this for you as well. And there's a Joshua there, and I want to give him a chance.
Right.
What I find a lot in the world is that people we seem to think in a herd mentality, and we seem to think in 140 characters because we have become trained to do that because of social media, right? Issues are extremely complex. You have to take the time to sit down as I do on my veranda. Christine, you want to mute, please?
No, the underworld.
Oh, Christine.
Please, there's a mic that's open, right? Please. Okay. Go ahead, Chris.
President Joshua has his hand up.
But Chris wasn't
No,
finished.
Sorry. I just got muted. Yeah. No, so we have to take the time to stop and think and struggle with these very complex issues. Let me just leave one thing with you. I listen to people and I'm saying, the Black Lives Matter and the white man wicked, and all of which may be true, right? But when I sit down to think about, let me just share with you. My dear friend, whom I saved from prison in college, who is now from Nigeria, who is now a judge in Idaho, a very Republican and red state. When I met him, he said to me, "Oh, you're from Jamaica. My forefathers sold your forefathers into slavery." That's a fact. Should I be as upset with him as I am with the Englishman? I went to Monroe. Monroe was funded by money from the 20 million pounds that was paid to slave owners without a dollar going to slaves. Should I be upset at that and not go to Monroe or say Monroe must lock down? So the issues become very muddy. You have to be willing to think through them, be principle-centered, and have the courage to take a stand at some point. This has to do with the pandemic. It has to do with politics, with economics, with social issues. We have to resist the temptation to think and speak in 140 characters. And it is a plague on the earth right now. All right, so thinking persons have to be able to think. My articles tend to be 2,000 words, not 140 characters, because issues are complex and need exposition.
Need ventilation.
Yes, Joshua.
Yes, good. Joshua.
So hello and good
President
afternoon.
Joshua. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for that inspiring and empowering presentation. And I like the fact that you use your real world experience with also factual evidence, because I'm a great jazz fan as well, and I know that jazz personnel.
Yes.
So I really understand from his perspective. One of the key things that you pointed out is failing forwards and not empowering your circumstances over your creativity. As a young person, it is sometimes hard to try to escape, what everybody else is doing. Sometimes you really want to branch out and do something on your own to be different, but it's really hard, find your footing in the world. And even when you have something that you think is really creative or innovative, you realize that, okay, there are 100 persons who can do it better than you. So most times you really fall in self-doubt and not trying to find a reason to do it. What would you advise a person to do if they fall in that circumstance?
All right, let me begin at the end. The single most important skill you're going to learn in life is to get back up and start over. If you can't do anything else, learn how to do that. Learn how to feel anything is a disaster and the world is going to end and the sky is going to fall, and you get up tomorrow morning and brush your teeth and put on your shoes and your pants and start again. If you take nothing else from today, take that. Right? Now, you say some important things. Let me start with another point. Not everybody has the benefit as I have had to grow up around great role models. I mean, my first track coach was Herb McKinley. Herb McKinley gave me my first shoes. He used to drive a green Benz. He went in the back of the Benz and took out a suede black Nike Adidas spikes and gave that to me. When I was going away on scholarship, Herb McKinley called Foggy Burrows. Foggy Burrows was the coach at KC, and KC and Calabar don't take tea. And Herb said to Foggy, the KC man, Chris is coming up to New York, take care of him. You hear what I'm saying? Foggy Burrows took me under his wing, took me in his track club and took care of me. A Calabar man referring to me. These are grown men to me, right? The folks on this call have a role to play in mentoring and encouraging, because not everybody is going to be blessed with the family life that I had. But there's a role to be played in mentoring people and giving them an opportunity. The easiest thing to do is to take the next step in the same direction with the same group of people, right? That's what President Joshua is getting at. It takes courage to break away and go on your own path. The thing is, you can never be successful. I don't care what you think. You could be good. You can never be great doing what the next guy is doing. And the last thing I want to leave with you, President Joshua, you just said that, 100 other people doing what you are doing. You're going to do what 100 people do. What I want to leave with you is that the other 99 cannot do it the way you can do it, because you are unique, and I need you to accept that. I need you to accept your uniqueness. And what does that mean? And try and find your way. And what you do should give voice to who you are, and nobody can replicate that and build a business model around it. All right. And if you want, I'm saying it in a sentence, but it's a very involved process. So I'd encourage you to find a mentor. You can call me anytime to talk about anything. But your own voice cannot be replicated. It is your voice. And if you put your voice in your products, you will do well in your own unique way. And I say that from bitter experience, not from just saying it.
Okay, Chris, could you just give us a little update on what's happening with the current Jamaica bobsleigh team? The
current bobsleigh team, last Olympics we went to with the women's team for the first time, Jasmine Finlett and Carrie Russell. They did well. The season before last was cut short when the virus broke out. You're welcome, President Johnson. This last season, if you've been following the press, Jamaica for the first time actually was on the podium in 3 different international bobsleigh competitions, all for women. So right now, and Carrie won 2 of those medals and Jasmine won a 3rd, and these are all our female bobsleigh pilots. We also have a men's team, 2- and 4-man in training that was back on the World Cup circuit in the 4-man for the first time since 2006, long time. All right. So we have a very strong group of athletes, very experienced, doing very well. We expect to qualify a 2-man, a 4-man, that's the male events, and to qualify the women for the 2022 Olympic Winter Games that will be in Beijing, China. And I'm certain they will have those games, because if you know the Chinese culture, they will find a way to have the games. And we expect them to do very well leading up to the qualification and to do very well at the games. Right now, they're in a bubble in training at GC Foster, and they will be there until August, when they go to New York to train on a push track in Lake Placid. And then they will start the season in October. So I'm very optimistic. It's been, I've tried to play my role and step away. And it's kind of like the Godfather, I keep getting dragged back in. But here I am, and I'm doing the best that I can with what I have. And the truth of the matter is we have been, in the last year or 2, more successful than we have been in many, 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 many years. So I thank God for that, and we'll continue working and moving forward.
Okay. And if there's one more, we can take one more. Otherwise, we go to the thank you. Okay. Well, let's go to the thank you. Ralston, DT.
Thank you, DP Stewart. Christian Stokes, OD. We have had a history of great speakers. And I must say that that history is not blemished up to tonight. I have been given a task, which I find very pleasurable, to give a vote of thanks. And so I wish to thank Ms. Blossom O'Mealy for giving us the opportunity to meet you, to meet you and to hear from you. A talk from the heart, which we, as said by other persons, we found very motivational. We think it is very inspirational. You came and you spoke about things that ordinary Jamaicans can do that turn out to be extraordinary. You spoke about your upbringing and the experiences that molded you to be the person you are today. And so we found it very, very interesting. One thing that struck with me was you alluded to the fact that as human beings, we should not die until we actually die. And this is what is happening to a lot of persons. So my friend and my brother, I want to thank you on behalf of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston and all the Kiwanians and guests gathered here to hear you, to let you know that truly it was an evening well spent, and there is no way any of us could say we wasted our time. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Respect.
Thank you.
Yes.
PDT Ralston, don't go yet.
President, I am sure that Ms. Blossom have a whole heap of these certificates of appreciation.
Let me collect a few.
And so it is very good that you are going to allow Chris to collect a few, which we will get it to you, but it is being displayed here, but we will get it to you in short order.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, IPDT Ralston. And
sorry, President. That's everybody that said this. Chris, you did say that you are in the Turks and Caicos now, but you come to Jamaica very often.
Yes.
So since we frame it, if you can give me a little signal, then because we will have it framed for you.
Yes, but just to be clear, I live in Jamaica. I go to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I used to go to Spartan before it closed, and I shop at Sovereign. So it's just that I had to drag my mother over here for certain reasons, and I've ended up staying here a little longer than I anticipated. But I'm almost always in Jamaica.
Just let me know.
I will.
Okay.
But and Stu, I mean, love you, my brother. Thanks for the thought and for reaching out. All right. And we really need to spend some, catch up a little
I'm
bit.
sorry, I forgot to mention the training you got at that institution on Red Hills Road, but that's okay.
That's where my father went to seminary as well, at Calabar Theological College.
Yes. Okay, good. President Richard, over to you.
Yes, thank you. Before we move to the Sergeant at Arms, I'll just share with Chris that at 65, I'd say I'm having the best years of my life.
Yes, indeed.
The only other time I've had so much fun was when I was 5 years old. Yes.
Yes, indeed.
COVID or no COVID. This time I'm going to invite DP Earl Spencer, or Sergeant at Arms, to take over the proceeding.
Well, our guest speaker, you said something earlier, and I see where Ralston was being very proud of you going to Calabar. But you see the link between Calabar and KC, the Herb McKinley?
Yes.
McKinley would make sure it don't matter what school you're from, and especially Calabar and KC, and he's getting a scholarship for you. And he was a great guy.
Yes.
What I find, what I found out though is that I'm a KC man, you see, Chris.
Yes.
I'm brought to Calabar. And well, naturally we have to have a bond because of all that. And quite a few of my friends. I remember after a champs at Calabar had won, and I was with some Calabar guys. And then one time they said, "But wait, you never come to Case." No, I had to remind them that I didn't go to Calabar.
Yes.
They thought I was one of them. And that's how we all used to operate from the 60s going on.
Yes.
And so I'm really delighted to have been part of it. I didn't hear all of this, of the introduction, because I just got home. Yeah. And as President is saying, and it's only the secretary can take the fine, he's talking about 65, the best time of his life. If I tell you that at 77 is the best time of my life, you know I'm lying. And because that's where I am now, 77. I'm having a good time, and I appreciate. One thing I remember that I can share is that when I was at college in England, and I was with much younger people, and they were in some liberal arts class and talking about memory. And you see boys, only the old guys, and then eventually something snapped. If you are 30 and you don't have any memories, what were you doing before?
Yes.
So
yes.
at that stage, though, we can live on memories.
Yes.
We probably have.
Remember
right
you're the Sarge.
Right now, my memory is slipping me from some of the jokes because you're talking.
Remember you're the Sarge.
I am, you hear what I'm saying? If you Calabar, I'm saying with all the interest in the talk this evening, I didn't hear any of the sorry, somebody muted me.
In error. I did that in error, DP.
Right. He really was. Anyway.
Unmute yourself, DP. It happened again.
Please move your hands from that table.
No, I was trying to mute somebody else, and in error it caught you. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So you sound better muted.
Tell you, well, Chris has put up a very young picture. Anyway, I just tell you once this old one about the whales frolicking in the ocean. I don't know how many of you, I hope many of you don't remember it, so it will make me feel better. But these two whales were frolicking in the ocean, and says the female whale to the male whale. No, the male whale to the female whale. You see that clipper that's going there? That's the whaler that's out there. That's the one that killed our father. He said, yes, it really is. He says, I have a plan. Let's go blow some bubbles and capsize it. She said, yes, that's a great idea. So they went, dived under, and blew up some bubbles and capsized the boat. And they swam off happily. And then the male whale said, hey, see some seamen getting away, some sailors getting away. She said, oh, I agreed about the blowjob, but I ain't going to swallow no seamen. Sorry about that. That's the only one I'm giving. Thank you, Prince.
Boy, Earl, you need a joke.
I trust I've left some speechless. Over to you, Chris.
We're going to move to the notices now, and I invite DLG William Reason to share with us the notices.
Good evening again, fellow Kiwanians and guests. One or two notices. Of course, the Kiwanis International Leadership Education Conference should be held virtually, Salt Lake City, from June 23rd to June 26th. Registration has been extended to June the 8th, and the registration fee is US $39. The club's delegates are President Richard and President Designate Paul. Interclubbing opportunities. We're interclub in New Kingston tomorrow evening at 6. We've been invited to interclub with Hopewell on Thursday. There will also be a fundraising meeting on the 3rd, and the details of the link will be sent out by President Richard. At this time, I may ask any clubs have any announcements, they can go ahead and do it now. Thank you.
Good night, all. My name is President Lillian from the Kiwanis Club of the First City, and I don't have an announcement at the moment for upcoming projects, but just want to thank all the clubs who participated in supporting our fundraising virtual run on Saturday, leading up to even last night. Thank you for your participation and your support. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
President, you're taking contributions.
I'm sorry, say that again?
No, I understand you're still taking contributions.
Yes, I am, even up to this evening, yes. So please don't be shy. If you would like to make your contribution, I will definitely receive it with great thanks and appreciation.
Okay, we will make a contribution, Lady William. I'll have Secretary William make contact with you.
Thank you so very much. Bless you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. This is President Joshua from the MICO. So as today is International Parents' Day, and we all as SLP know that you Kiwanians are indeed our parents, on June 3rd at 7 o'clock, we'll be having an event called Parents Nights Out, and it's targeted at the Kiwanians. We'll have music from your times, of course, and a lot of funs and games. We are looking for you there, and we really want to come out and support.
Yes. What's your start time?
Oh, so the start time is 7 p.m.
Okay.
And the link, President Joshua, the link.
So I will share the link in the chat. In addition, I will send the link to DLG William.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes, go ahead.
On behalf of the members of the club, I want to publicly thank the fundraising team that had recently concluded Fish Fry that sold over 900 tickets. We thought it was an excellent effort. It was well put together, and we are very cognizant of the fact that there are members of this club who goes out of the way to ensure that our events are successful and that we will be able to fund other projects to help the less fortunate. So on behalf of the rest of members, we just want to extend our sincere thanks to you, President Richard, and the organizing committee.
On behalf of the organizing committee, thank you for the kind sentiments expressed, and we will continue to serve. I now invite DP Stewart to share with us for the week, which will be followed by our termination. Over to you, DP Stu.
Thank you, President Richard. I have two thoughts. Okay, this one, though no one can go back and make a brand new start, anyone can start from now and make a brand new ending. And the other one that I have is that the principles you live by determine the world you live in. So those are my two thoughts for the week, President Richard.
Yes, excellent reflections. Yes. Fellow Kiwanians and guests and our guest speaker, I invite you to raise your glasses and drink a toast. The Kiwanis International Makeup.
Kiwanis International.
This meeting of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston